want
Baggedmilk. 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 Oh, I swear. Oh, Baggedmilk. And I'm hungry like Baggedmilk.
Bit of a sigh of relief after last night's game.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there's a gutsy win by the Oilers, especially after what happened to Evander Kane in the second period. It was I actually give them a lot of credit for being able to focus and just kind of get back on the task at hand.
By the way,
Scary.
Evander Kane, who had his wrist cut by his skate, he just put out a statement on Twitter saying he's doing good. They sewed him up, and he will be back to play. He said not next game, but soon. So,
Really?
yeah.
You'd think that type of an injury, and I don't know much about it, but you'd think that might actually take some time
I'm
to
sure
heal.
it'll take some time, yeah.
So I don't know.
I obviously purely speculation, but I'd guess he's going to be out months is what I'd guess.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Don't they have to, when you sever stuff like that, don't you have to go in and repair it?
I'm sure it'll take some time, yeah. They didn't really say what happened, like what he cut or whatever, but
I think
No, they didn't say a whole lot last night on the broadcast. Gene Brinspe just did say that he had to get surgery last night, so there was some repair work that had to be done for sure. So it's not going to be a quick one, to say the least.
Yeah, when you're dealing with repairing that type of ligaments and blood vessels and things like that in the arm, I'm guessing that's not something that you can just, all right, you're good. All right.
yeah.
No, you're not going to slap a Band-Aid on that one, I don't think.
No. No, but they did get to win last night, which is good because the day before we were talking about, we had you on last week and everything was rosy and good, and then they went on a 3-game slide.
Yeah.
Are we doing this again? But yeah, getting the win last night against Tampa was huge.
Well, it was a massive game for a lot of reasons. Like the Evander Kane thing happened, and the boys rallied, and then you look at the game that Jack Campbell had in net. He was fantastic for the Oilers last night. He was a guy that really needed one after the Dallas game on Saturday. He was so hard on himself, threw himself under the bus, and then drove back and forth a couple of times. So I was really happy for him. I was happy to see the penalty kill was perfect on the night after allowing 4 goals on 5 attempts against Washington. So there was a lot of things to be happy about last night. That was a really gutsy win by the Oilers over a very good Tampa Bay team.
Yeah, Soup needed that one for sure. I was even thinking that we might go out of our way to collectively as a city to find somebody after a loss to go give him a hug.
Yeah, man. I just I appreciated the accountability, and I appreciated that he's like, listen, this was my fault. I'm not playing well. I appreciated that. But as the quote went on and it just got worse and worse, I was just like, somebody give him a hug or have him an edible arrangement. Or
he was making us all kind of sad.
So that was the book on Campbell.
I was yelling
at the
book
on Campbell, though, right?
Yeah,
in Toronto, he used to be really, really hard on himself when things were going wrong. And I just hope that last night he got the reverse end of it, because he was fantastic last night against the Lightning. And yeah, that was tough to watch, Locke.
What? I kept yelling at the screen. Just stop asking him questions. He's gonna have a mental breakdown
Let
here.
him go have a bath.
Yeah, nice bath.
Light some candles.
Put on some soft music. Glass of wine. Come on.
We should set up the next game. The road trip continues. There's 4 games in this most recent leg, so they're halfway there and they're on their way to Carolina. How is Carolina this year?
Carolina's good. They're going to remain good.
Again.
And it's it sucks because I haven't forgotten what happened in 2006. I might be the last man out in the jungle, even the war's over, but I'm never going to forget. And the fact that the Oilers beat them the first time around is great. It was a really good game at Rogers Place, but now they're going to be on the road and rally, so they're going to have to be tight again. They're going to have to be on top of their game, and they're going to have to play just as well as they did against the Lightning, because if they slip, if they go back to some of the bad habits that they saw against the Capitals, the Hurricanes will beat them. So I'm hoping last night was a rallying point that they can go forward a little bit, but we'll see. It's a tough road trip. They've got Carolina on Thursday and then another matinee for some reason on Saturday in Florida. At least that one makes a little bit more sense because it's in Florida, but the matinees are wild to me this year.
Yeah, and the Oilers don't like them very much, I don't think. They haven't been kind.
No, just a brutal record overall. it has not been good. Well below 500 in matinee games.
One of the nice things last night against Tampa was that they took 5 penalties and they killed off 5 penalties because that's obviously a huge concern for the team.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean that's only, I think I'm doing this off the top of my head, but I think that's only the 3rd time that the Oilers have shut out the other team on the PK all season so far. So that was huge because Tampa had 5 chances, like you said, Grant. I still think there's a discipline problem a little bit with the Oilers. You can't be going to the box that much, but ultimately the fact that they were able to kill off all 5 was really nice, especially after the night before in Washington where everything was going in the net. They couldn't stop anything. So it was a really, really nice improvement. I don't know what Woodcroft said overnight, but I hope he's doubling down ahead of Carolina tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I think the lesson for me, because I've become very emotionally invested in this team and seeing the success they had when they went on that 5-game winning streak, and then you just and you watch this team, and I was explaining to my wife because she was like, they're going to lose. You realize that. They're not going to have a perfect season.
Yeah.
Settle in.
Well, I thought you meant like as she's watching last night, she's like, they're going to lose.
No, the night before. And I was like, yeah, you know what? That's a good point. We're going to have some ups and downs in the season. It's hard to watch this team lose when you realize how good they are. Like even in the loss the other night at the end there against Washington, where it looked like they were going to make a comeback there in the 3rd. And Nuge pops that goal. That last 10-minute stretch, the Oilers just dominated. So they can just turn it on. It's like a light switch. It's like, oh, okay, guys, go out there and control the game because you're behind and you need to win one. And they do it. And so when you see that kind of potency in your team, you're like, okay, well, they're never going to lose because wouldn't you just always just turn it on when you can? Right? It's frustrating watching this Oilers squad this year when they are on a, when they're fighting from behind, right?
Well, and that's what I was so angering again about that game against Washington is because Washington, first of all, was missing half their team with injury. They had their backup goalie in net. So as soon as I saw all of that lining up before the game, I was just like, listen, on paper, this is a game that the Edmonton Oilers should win. But I've also been an Oilers fan my entire life, and I've been fooled many times before, and you're not going to trick me so easily. So the fact that they came out as flat as they did against a short-manned Washington team was incredibly frustrating, but then exactly like you happened, Locke, they turned it on at the end. They almost pulled off the comeback, and that's what made it so annoying to me is because they played 20 of 60 minutes against Washington. And they almost pulled it off. This team is very, very good, but you can't just play 1 of 3 periods, and that's what happened against Washington.
What do you think about the possibility of Ryan Reynolds owning the Ottawa Senators?
Listen, think of how many tickets that guy is going to sell. If he pops his tarp off and he's just standing outside the door, handing out tickets, or if it's the home opener and he comes down from the roof dressed as Deadpool, everybody's going to have a good time with it. I don't know how he's going to make the finances work. I Googled Ryan Reynolds' net worth. He's got a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have NHL ownership money, so there's going to have to be other people in there. I don't know what he's got planned, but ultimately, to answer the question, I think it'd be great for the league. I think that the Ottawa Senators are a team that's for sale right now after their ownership, after Eugene Melnyk passed away a while ago. And why not Ryan Reynolds? I like to think about all the content he would make. He's got that soccer team, Rob McElhenney from It's Always Sunny over in Europe, and they make great content from that team. I would love to see him do that with the Ottawa Senators and turn that into a team that's a little bit of a media darling and all kinds of cool stories and stuff coming out of it. I think it'd be great. Who knows if it actually happens, but I love the idea.
Yeah, everyone knows that team now, Wrexham FC. Like I had no idea who that was.
Me neither.
Before him and Rob bought it. So,
well, and he even mentioned that he doesn't buy these things from the perspective of, oh yeah, though I really want a soccer team. He buys them from the perspective of there's a good story there, and I can tell a story.
Yeah,
which is an interesting approach, right? Because he's a content creator. Is what he is. He's a very rich content creator, but you're right, and I didn't even think of it that from that perspective, Baggedmilk, that he would go in there and make them cool again. Because I mean, the Sens,
nobody cares.
The Sens are not cool, right? They're just
and nobody cares. Nobody goes to their games.
This makes them. He hasn't even
way out
bought
of
the team,
town.
and he's made them cool.
Yeah.
Last night he was at the game and he got a standing ovation. He hasn't even done anything except showed up looking all handsome in his beard. You know what I mean? So just imagine what he could do with that team if he actually owned it. I love it. I think it'd be a great idea.
There he is. Baggedmilk from Oilers Nation. Thank you for your time, my friend.
Thank you, boys.
The Locker Room for Always Plumbing and Heating. Weekday mornings on 95.7 Cruise FM.